Salve rapaziada, aqui é o Ryan Santos. And this channel, we only speak English from now on. Only English. And right here I have my friend, my best friend from childhood, Valentine Hoy the third. No, the 8th.
The 9th.
The 9th.
Yeah, the 3rd.
And he's Jewish and he lived in Uganda.
So I know about the Anbi Raid a little bit.
He knows about the Anbi Raid a little bit.
Yeah.
I want you to explain first, what the hell was the Anbi Raid?
Okay.
And second, what's your view on the current conflict between Hamas, Israel, Palestine, and all that?
Sure. So the Anbi Raid happened in 1976 when there was a plane that was hijacked by Palestinian terrorists who were trying to they were trying to get people out of prison in Israel and then argue for a Palestinian state. So they hijacked this plane of mostly, I think it was going to the Olympics, but it was going
to Paris.
Okay, it was going to Paris. So a bunch of athletes, Israeli athletes mostly. They actually let all the non-Jews go, and then they kept all the Jews hostage. They flew the plane to Uganda, and then they used the Ugandan army and their own terrorist organization to keep the hostages in a warehouse. So Israel, within 48 hours, devised a plan where they were going to bring these three planes into Uganda after the runway was shut down. They're going to fly in, sneak in a car that looked like a limousine, so they would think that Idi Amin or whoever the leaders of Uganda at the time were in this car. And then they take this car 2 kilometers to go over to where all the hostages were, jump out with a bunch of commandos, kill everybody, bring the hostages back onto the plane, fly over to Nairobi, and then back to Israel. And it was a totally crazy plan.
You should watch the documentary.
Great documentaries on this. Operation Thunderbolt, yeah. And we were just talking about it, and it's like, how would you, like, before, all right, now we know it's a success, but before you knew that was going to be a success, I mean, the balls to just say, like, yeah, go ahead and pretend you're,
You have to be very ballsy, very creative, very risk-taking, like...
Oh, and then they bombed all the planes, right, before they left. They bombed all the planes so that the Ugandan military, the Air Force, couldn't fly after
that
them.
was like, you do all of that, and you even think of like bombing your enemy's planes so they can go after you and catch you in the air.
Yeah,
like that's Israeli shit right there.
Oh,
they're
all
smart.
Ugandan
they're
army
strategic.
Officers. Yeah,
they're like relentless.
Yeah,
and that's 1976. So. You're talking about one of the best, maybe the best army in the world, pound for pound.
Yeah,
pound for pound is the #1 army in the world.
Yeah.
My point was, like, there is no way the #1 army in the world didn't know it was coming.
So Israel's dealing with these threats constantly. They have one of the best intelligence networks in the world. And they're dealing with these things constantly. I mean, the idea that you're going to be able to get 100% of everything coming at you, I think is unreasonable. But I do understand your point that, how does something this major, this enormous go on and nobody knows about it? And they can't stop it, right? I mean, part of it is these people were right next to the Gaza Strip because they were trying to show that we want peace. And then those are the people who are now brutally raped and killed, which has a sense of cruel irony to it. But how did they miss something like that is a good question. You think it's on purpose?
Yes. Especially after what you explained to me on the beef between Benjamin Netanyahu and the judges and how the population of Israel is pretty much split in half.
I mean, they're talking about civil war before this happened. And now
they were in the beginning of the year. It was like a civil war going on between the left wing, pretty much like the judges were with the left-wing people,
right?
Pretty much, right? And Netanyahu with the right-wing traditional Jews.
Yeah.
So, like, how the hell would you have a civil war in if you can have a split country, it could be any country but Israel, because if you're split inside,
then everyone's going to attack.
Everyone's going to attack. Hezbollah from the north, Jordan from the east.
Yeah. Well, it's what you're saying, that it could have possibly been allowed in order to unite Israel again is not a ridiculous thing to say, and it wouldn't be the first time in history that it happened. Even America had thought about doing that to attack Fidel Castro in the 1950s.
Oh,
They didn't do it, but they wanted to start a war, or maybe it was the 60s, but they wanted to start a war with Cuba. And so they were going to hire CIA agents. CIA agents were going to come in like Cubans and shoot people. I mean, it's certainly an idea that's been floated around.
So it's a possibility.
It's a possibility.
What is your own view as a Jewish man who lived in Uganda, who lived everywhere in the world, who you don't even have a side. You don't have a side of like the left wing Israelis and like Netanyahu's, but like, what is your, as a political analyst, what's going on in your head?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely don't have. I mean, as a religious Jew, which Netanyahu is a religious Jew, he would never allow other Jews to be killed.
Okay, so that's one.
But on the other hand,
wait, that's one point. Like,
yeah.
And I know a lot of Jewish people, and they protect each other.
They protect each other.
So it doesn't matter if you're gay, if you're left wing, you're progressive, you're Jewish.
Right. However, you want to save the most Jewish people, and so if this is going to plummet Israel into a civil war.
Okay, so like better for them to get 300 killed here than 3 million killed there.
Right, or to divide the nation and have the whole thing just sink. Yeah.
Got you.
You could rationalize and justify your behavior.
Okay,
like
makes
that.
sense. Makes sense.
That's why I'm saying I don't know whether it happened or it didn't happen. I mean, it's not going to end up with a solution, because what's going to happen now is they're just going to go and they're going to bomb Gaza. They're going to create more terrorists.
They're going to bomb the shit out of Gaza.
They're taking away electricity,
that whole
water,
thing,
food.
and that whole thing of like killing one terrorist.
Yeah,
you make 4.
100.
You create 100.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, depending on how you do that. I mean, the whole thing is on fire. They don't have food, water, shelter. Mothers, daughters, fathers are dying. I mean, what are you going to... You're growing up. You're 7 years old. You know what I mean? You've been told ever since you were young, you got to hate Jews and kill the Jews. They're doing this stuff. Of course, like, you're going to want to... I mean, anybody, you know, is going to want to just resort to terror, because they also don't have an army. They have no way out. They have no recourse. They have no help, you know? So it's a really tough situation for the people there too. For sure, it's complicated. So what do you do in that sort of case? You know, how do you resolve something like this?
I'm not Jewish. What's your view?
So my view on how you resolve something like this is very unpopular, and I've told people this, and I've gotten a lot of shit for it. But I don't know what else. I mean, some people say they want to do the 2-state solution. I think that's not going to work. I think people are just going to keep trying to take from Israel, and I think there's already not enough space.
So you mean that like split Israel in half?
Yeah.
East Israel will be for the Palestine people,
right,
and West Israel for the Jews.
But they're making it really.
But
difficult.
the Jewish people will never accept that. So
Jewish people never accept
get
that.
Out of that.
Yeah. So I think the thing that you've got to do is you've got to take these people in the Gaza Strip, which is in Israel, or the Palestinians that are living, you know,
send them to Egypt.
Send them to Egypt, send them to Sinai, send them to Syria, send them to Lebanon, send them to Iran, who seems to be so fond of the Palestinians now and is funding their missions, right? Send them somewhere where these people will take them, they'll give them land, they'll allow themselves to continue their traditional practices, their religion. I mean, it's not like there's any infrastructure in these places. They're tied to the land because their family lived there.
Where's your family from?
The Jewish side?
Yeah. No. Where did you grow up? You and your sister and your brother?
California.
All right. What if I took you out of California, your mom and your dad, and I send you to all the way in Alaska? Like, your parents would be mad.
That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about...
It's exactly the same thing.
Sending them to Alaska? I'm talking... No, it'd be like taking us out of California and moving us...
Oregon.
To, like, Italy. You're not talking about taking from, like, a nice place... you're talking about no infrastructure, no food, no water.
You mean so like taking
desert.
them from Southeast San Diego and putting them
in Mexico?
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like taking them from a Mexican, neighborhood in San Diego and putting them in a Mexican neighborhood in Mexico. They'd probably be happier in Mexico. You know what I mean? It's not. They feel out of place where they are. They don't have access to food, water, electricity, passport, travel, a voice. Right? That stuff is all shut down.
Oh, so this might be happening right now. Look. If they shut down electricity, water, food into that, they're going to force those people to get the fuck out in buses.
They're not going to leave. They're going to stay there.
Without electricity, food, water?
This is not the first time it's happened. This has happened multiple. Not everybody's going to evacuate the city. It's still going to be overcrowded. It's still going to be difficult there. And I don't even know how easy. They don't have passports either. But none of the other Arab nations take these people in.
Why not?
I don't know why not.
I used
there are
to
a couple
go.
of theories why.
I've been to Jordan, and there are a lot of Palestinian people there.
Yeah.
Including the prostitutes in Jordan. They're from Palestine.
But they won't relocate enormous amounts of Palestinians, even if
Oh,
some do
right.
go
They'll be
there.
like immigrants here.
They won't
and
be
there,
like,
yeah.
here's your land, like cultivate it, make it better, improve this land, it's yours. They won't do that. They don't actually take them in. Israel's going to be in Israel. Like, even as a Jew, like, I know I have some sort of reason to want that to be there, but it's not going anywhere. Whether you're a Jew or you're not Jew, it's just where it is. So we have to figure out a way to
unless
solve
all
it.
the other countries unite. So if Saudi Arabia
already
unites
did that.
with Iran, Saudi Arabia and Iran, they're not united. Unless other countries around that unite, Israel's going to disappear.
Israel won't disappear. It has backing from America. It has backing from the UN. It's just not going to disappear.
Okay.
It's there because the whole reason that Israel got to become a country where it was after the Holocaust. Jews had nowhere to go, and then the British had that whole land. That British owned that whole land, and they gave it to the Jews, and it was backed by the whole Western world because they thought that we need an army base and a friend in a very unstable area of the world, and thus Israel was born. And then you got a whole bunch of people just out of the Holocaust who are aggressive and angry, and they're finally given Israel, which the Jews, like in your prayer book, it talks about one day in Israel, next year in Israel, for 2,000 years wanting to be in this place. I mean, so many generations back you can't even understand, and it's just like one day we'll be back in Israel, one day we'll be back in Israel.
And 1947 was that day.
And then that was the day. And then of course they're going to take everything over, and they're going to rule over this area and never want to give it up. It's going to be really hard to get Israel out of Israel, Jews out of Israel. So what do you have to do?
Okay, the solution is like displace all the Muslim people.
Do it in one
out
generation.
of Gaza.
Just get them out, and then there won't be
So
these
you
same
take
issues.
all of those people out
Yeah.
of Gaza. You create
I give
create
them
like
money.
a very good modern city in the middle of the desert of Saudi
Right.
Arabia.
Right.
And
then just let them live.
Let them live
there.
there in like luxury because Saudi Arabia has enough money to like take care of all of them.
Yeah, I mean, you could give a relocation package. You could give them clean water, which they don't always have. You
Right.
can give them places to grow food. You could do something like that, and then just relocate this massive amount of people and let them live their life there. And then maybe the world. But everyone's, oh no, you can't relocate
That's
people.
such an utopic idea. That
Yeah,
would never happen.
No, but then you're going to relocate people, and that's going to be wrong for them. Well, you know what's wrong for them? They don't have food, water, electricity, and then they've raped and killed 700 Israelis. Like, who's wrong?
All right.
That's my view.
So how will the people reach you? Like, what's your handle? Like, how
You can find me on Instagram at monji.gringo.
we'll put his social networks down here.
But we'll be doing more YouTube.
We'll be doing more YouTube. We have our own show, but like this is our new line of content. We're gonna talk about geopolitics in English,
There you go.
right? So the other channel, Nomad Digital, is for Portuguese content, and here we'll start doing stuff in English. Thank you, my brother. I'll see you in Paris.
See you in Paris.
Cheers.